Mydei E2. Many of you know it. I pulled Mydei E2, and those were originally my Phenon E2 pulls. Now, due to a stroke of luck, and as well as money, I still managed to get E2 Phenon anyways. But just know, I used my guaranteed E2 Phenon funds on this sexy man's E2, right? Unfortunately, his eidolons and his kit don't look as good as his actual appearance. And even worse, they play worse than they look, right? This E1, let's talk about it. Every time he does a Godslayer, all enemies will take the primary target damage, and on top of this, it'll do 30% more overall damage, and on top of this, it will be completely AoE. So it makes your Godslayer AoE, it makes everyone take the primary target multiplier, and it just increases its overall strength by 30%, right? This actually isn't too bad of an E1, and it quite noticeably increases his pure fiction performance, and alongside E1 Tribi specifically, it's some pretty good synergy, right? E2. For those who don't know, I folded for Mydei's E2 because this was before we had Hyacine Beta, and I thought for sure we wouldn't get another Blade situation. I actually remember people telling me, hey, don't go for E2 Mydei, he'll be a Blade situation, and I was telling people like, no, I think they learned from Blade and they won't do that to a character again. But they did. And so Hyacine, out of all the HP scalers, Mydei has the least synergy with Hyacine because of her single target healing being abysmal, right? What makes Hyacine so good is her AoE healing, right? Jingliu has an inherent part of her kit, right? This was added in her buffs that, if I remember correctly, right, each time an ally changes or like drains HP, something like that, right, 20 times total, right? And every time an ally changes HP, it's one stack, and once you hit 20, Jingliu is able to get an extra SysG stack for better enhanced skill uptime, right? So with Hyacine, and especially Hyacine's Light Cone, you can guarantee 100% enhanced skill uptime for Jingliu with Hyacine. For Blade, the Hyacine Light Cone draining HP contributes towards his stacks for his follow-up, right? For Mydei, Hyacine has zero synergy outside of just the max HP buff, and the funniest part about this is even this is not good for Mydei, because Mydei, the more you increase his max HP after 8,000, it actually isn't recommended, especially if you have E1, because it's gonna require more and more HP loss for you to gain Godslayer charge, right? So the more max HP increase you put into Mydei after 8,000, you get diminishing returns for the Godslayers, right? So there's that, and then there's also this bullshit, right? 15% defense ignore in a team where nobody else gives him any type of defense ignore or puts defense reduction. If you guys want to know how big of a game changer this is. I believe in the defense shred chart, if there are no other sources of defense shred, this is probably like a 6 or 7% damage increase. Wow. Right? An E2 giving a 6 or 7% damage increase, truly I thought I'd never see the day. Right? Now, let's get to what's supposed to be the juicy part, but is actually just as ass. After he receives healing, converts 40% of the healed amount into charge. The tally of the converted charge cannot exceed 40 points, resetting this tally of charge after any unit takes action, right? Or resets this tally of charge, right? The strongest single target healers in the entirety of the game can only give this guy 20 to 25 charge. So his E2 gives you a 7% damage increase, and it only allows you to take advantage of half of what the E2 fucking gives you, right? And then this E1 that makes it so you want to be constantly spamming Godslayers, you'd think this E2 would change everything. It's just better to run him sustainless. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. It's just better to run the HP scaler with an E2 that wants him to be healed sustainless. Oh my fucking god. This is the worst E2 that any Amphoreus DPS has, and alongside this, the worst DPS kit any Amphoreus DPS has. I cannot believe I fell for that E2 bait. I cannot believe I actually had confidence in Hoyo to make Hyacine work for him. I should have known that Hyacine would just go towards the waifu bait. I should have. However, I thought differently. I thought, you know what, they're giving men some love in Amphoreus. Maybe they've changed. Maybe they've turned. Right. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, not all dreams can become reality, and I unfortunately had to learn the hard way. The lesson of today is never pull E2 Mydei. It is so fucking dog shit, but it is nice and pure fiction, right? I truly think that is the main selling point, but I'd only recommend going for E1. That E2 is abysmal dog shit. It is trash. Dirt. Right. By the way, the other reason I pulled for the E2 was because at the time, even if Hyacine didn't synergize with him, we had Mr. Rekka 4-star leaks, and the leakers were saying that Rekka would be his best in slot healer. So, I even more confidently pulled for it, and not only did Hyacine have zero synergy with this guy, but on top of this, Rekka never came out anymore. Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Don't laugh. Don't snicker. Grieve for my loss. Peace.